Today's episode of the Nick Taylor Horror Show is brought to you by Diabolic DVD. For almost 20 years, Diabolic DVD has been the source for horror, cult, and weird cinema to customers around the world. Diabolic offers a one-stop shopping experience for all of your favorite labels, including Arrow, Synapse, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Blue Underground, 88, and many more from all corners of the globe. So whether you're looking for the definitive version of Suspiria or trying to upgrade your crusty old DVD of Cannibal Holocaust, Diabolic is the owner-operated small business choice you've been craving. Shop online at diabolicdvd.com. That's DIABOLIK DVD.com. Today's episode of the Nick Taylor Horror Show is brought to you by Diabolic DVD. For almost 20 years, Diabolic DVD has been the source for horror, cult, and weird cinema to customers around the world. Diabolic offers a one-stop shopping experience for all of your favorite labels, including Arrow, Synapse, Vinegar Syndrome, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Blue Underground, 88, and many more from all corners of the globe. So whether you're looking for the definitive version of Suspiria or trying to upgrade your crusty old DVD of Cannibal Holocaust, Diabolic is the owner-operated small business choice you've been craving. Shop online at diabolicdvd.com. That's DIABOLIK DVD.com. Welcome to the Nick Taylor Horror Show. Ryuhei Kitamura is a Japanese director of such movies as Versus, Clive Barker's Midnight Meat Train, No One Lives, Downrange, and the Mashit segment of Nightmare Cinema. Ryuhei's director origin story is really inspiring. When he was making his feature debut, Versus, he went through a brutal series of hardships, but still managed to pull off an extremely impressive film that was loaded with these very complex zombie fight sequences and gore gags. One of the things that really stands out in Ryuhei's career is his relentlessness. Throughout his career, a multitude of things kept not working out, but he just pushed on and on until he became the director that he is today. Overall, Ryuhei's story is a true tale of pioneering filmmaking, and he claims that one of the main things that got him through the challenges that he faced was his samurai spirit, which we hear a lot more about, as well as very entertaining stories about how much boldness can pay off, as well as details about Ryuhei's collaboration with Clive Barker. All of this and so much more on this episode of the Nick Taylor Horror Show. Now, please give it up for Ryuhei Kitamura. I mean, to go back to the beginning, George Miller and Mad Max had a huge influence on you. In fact, you quit high school at the age of 17 and you moved to Australia to attend film school. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's a good story, but it's not only the one reason. Because I lived there, I have my family there. My aunt, she married like long time ago a Mexican sailor. They fell in love, and they moved to Australia like 50 whatever years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad took me to Australia to visit my aunt, and I woke up one morning and she was gone. So I was like, what? Why my dad went back, and my aunt told me you're gonna go to school. It's like, what? I couldn't even speak yes or no. I couldn't speak zero English, and they just throw me into this not a Japanese school, just a local school.
Wow.
So it was a struggle first couple of months, but kids are much tougher than adults, right?
Oh yeah.
So they always find a way to adjust. So I started to make my friends, and that was my first experience in Australia. That was back in 1980, I guess, when I was 11. So I lived there for like a year, and only way to learn English is, of course, you have to make friends and you start to speak, even though you can't really speak. But my first way to learn English was go to watch movie. And so I went to the movie theater every day, and when there's no school, I go to theater and I just keep on watching, stay in the theater for all day and watch the same movie again and again and again. So I can say that I learned English from watching this amazing movie called Breaking Away. the bicycle race movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched the movie in the theater for like, I mean, at least like 50 times
Wow.
when it came out. Because I didn't have many friends in Sydney, I was a lonely kid, and I just, stayed in the theater, and I started to figure out, what they're talking about. What is the story about? So that's how I went into this, world of the movie. So when I was 17, I started thinking about, what am I going to do in my future? And then I just knew that, I got to be film director. And yes, I lived in Australia, and I love Mad Max. I love Mad Max 2. I loved Razorback, Highlander from Australian director Russell Mulcahy. And I like Man at Work. I loved In Excess. So like everything was like telling me I go down under. So that's how I just picked. It was either America or Australia, but it was back in 1987. Still, Australia, not many people really knew about the country. Still the mysterious country, and it was somehow the thought of going to Australia, the land of Mad Max, was fun for me.
Cool.
I wasn't really thinking.
So why did Mad Max mean so much to you as an aspiring filmmaker?
I mean, especially Mad Max 2. I mean, you don't even have to ask. Everybody in the world still loves that movie, and and George Miller is I think he's the only one director, and it's still at age 70. And nobody really believed that, when he announced, he's going to do Mad Max 4, that, I mean, yes, it's George Miller, yes, we're going to go. It's hard to hate it, but nobody expect that, holy shit, I mean, he's going to do better than Mad Max 2.
Yeah.
Right? So when the first time I saw Mad Max, and especially the Mad Max 2 came out, I mean, I was like, wow, this is like completely different from the first movie, but still has this same kind of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed me the world that, I haven't seen, before that movie. Yes, after Mad Max 2 or after Escape from New York, a lot of, post-apocalyptic movie, and the manga and animation came out. But before Mad Max 2, something like that didn't really exist,
Mm-hmm.
in that quality. So, I don't know. I mean, it was very unique, and that fascinated me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And then luckily, George Miller apparently is coming back and doing another one. He's going to do a prequel.
Amazing. Yeah.
I know. I can't wait. It's a good time to be alive, right?
Yeah. And I got a few, like just this, times, between like around 1978 to 1980, 81 especially, I lost my mother when I was like 8. So I was very lonely, and, it was just me and my dad, it was just, me and him, and my father had to move around a lot of different places in Japan, and he was struggling in his business. So if you move around the school, like every 3 months, it's very hard to, make a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I said, kids are tough, but kids are sometimes, also very cruel, right?
Oh yeah,
the new kids. So I wasn't really adjusting into, any of those schools, when I was moving around with my dad. So, I didn't have my family, my home, or my school, or my local, hometown, because I was moving around. So only escape for me was while I'm at the movie theater. So the movie meant very special to me. Right? So I got a lot of influence from those, 1978, 1979, 1980, 81, 82, that time, especially the movie, because the movies were kind of my parents, my friends, and my teacher, because I didn't even go to school that much, So I got lots of influence, and the other influence I had was, of course, the 80s horror movie. That was, I think, the dawn of splatter movies, Friday the 13th, A Bloody Valentine, Halloween. Then, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street. So all those, the movie, because I love to watch all kinds of movie. Doesn't matter. And I even love the movie like, Bridges on Madison County. But those movies like Mad Max or, Friday the 13th, those movies fascinated me because something like that kind of, that kind of world. I don't really want to live in that kind of world.
Yeah. It's fun to watch, though.
Only in the movie, yes, you show me there's something unreal, the fantasy. Sometimes it's a very bloody gore fantasy, but still it's a fantasy, and I really enjoy that kind of world. So I was fascinated by the person, the people who create the vision. So it was very natural for me to, started thinking like, what I want to do in the future, or I want to make a movie like that. Mm-hmm. So everything was very natural for me.
Very, very cool. So I think one of the things I've learned talking to a lot of directors is that obviously when it comes to directing, yes, it's important to have a good actors, a great script, to work with your actors on finding an emotional connection with the characters, working with your DP to make sure everything looks fantastic and feels right. But largely beyond that, it seems like the real job is to face unbelievably huge challenges, overcome a lot of adversity, take really small budgets and make unbelievably larger looking production values out of really, really small opportunities and turning small opportunities into larger opportunities. And I feel like what really is a huge example of that is when you made Versus, and you made that for very little money. And when you watch the movie today, it holds up so well. And there's so many unbelievably complex sequences. And from what I heard, with your really awesome interview with Mick Garris, and I definitely encourage everybody listening to check that out, is that it was you had run out of money and you still were able to make the movie. So there were some skills inherent in that I think a lot of directors, I think that they need to realize that it's not just about having a great vision. It's about pulling your cast and crew through really difficult situations, being persuasive enough and earning enough loyalty to get your cast and crew to go through those difficult scenarios with you. But could you talk a little bit about that and how you were able to overcome huge odds when you were making Versus? Because I feel like it's a hugely important story for aspiring directors.
That's probably when I was making, I'm still is, but when I was making Versus, which is almost like 20 years ago, one thing I can say is I was probably the craziest director in the entire world. And part of the reason was, like I said, kind of like, doesn't matter if you're a director or you're a painter or you're a musician, if you are a creator, that means you have to create something out of your heart and soul, right? So that's, to me, the filmmaking directly connects to my life. And like I said, I had a tough childhood, life. And because of that experience, it was a little bit sooner than a lot of my friends at that time. But when I was 17, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, right? So one day it was boring Japanese lesson. And I started thinking about what am I going to do with my life. And I just made my decision because I was old enough to know, even though I was like stupid 17-year-old kid, but I was, I had so much experience already, up and down and mostly down with my life. So I was kind of, tough enough, wise enough to know that whatever you do, life is it's just a gamble, no matter what. So I decided to make my decision that, I'm going to be the director. One day I'm going to be the Hollywood director, and I just believe in myself and I just keep on betting until I win. I know that it's not going to be easy at all. I felt like, this dream is like, I don't even know where is the goal. It's like far beyond the horizon. Right? Because that was back in 1987 in this small town in Osaka. High school kid don't say that, right?
Right.
Especially in Japan, when you were 17, you start thinking about, you study at school, then you go home, then you have the private teacher and you have to study like another 6 hours at your home until like midnight to get into this, win the race to get into this university. Then, after 4 years of university, you have to now in the race to get into this good company. And Japan is kind of still like that, but none of this didn't any make sense to me. I mean, what is the good university? What is the good company? It's all about what do you want to do? What do you love, right? So I was like, I'm out of that race. I don't want to do it. So I started thinking about what I love, what I want to do. So a lot of things I love, but then everything, I was doing the boxing because of Rocky. I wanted to do that, be in the rock band because I, started listening to the soundtrack. I wanted to be like a writer because, I started reading the book because I wanted to find out, oh, this movie is based on the book. I want to read the books. That's how I went deep into the book. So I realized that everything started from the movie. Without the movie, I never wanted to, be in a rock band or started the boxing. So it was natural. So I stood up and I, declared to everybody in my classroom, said, hey, bye. I'm quitting and I don't know how, but I'll be the film director. And I'm not talking about a small director in Japan. I'm talking about the Hollywood director one day. Then, of course, half of the classroom laughed. Right? I said, what are you talking about? Quit dreaming. So like, we were 17-year-old and then you tell me that quit dreaming? Come on, it's all about the dream. Right? So, it's my life. You're not going to wipe my ass, so shut up and just get out of my way. I'm going to do what I want to do. So I declared that to my classroom, and I was so serious about what I said that day when I quit high school during the Japanese lesson. So, I just determined myself that I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up no matter what. Because if I give up, if I'm not going to make it, I'll be embarrassed. What I said 30 whatever years ago, right? So, there's a lot of people who says a lot of things, a lot of great things, and a lot of, and it's easy to say that when you're in this, uplifting wind. But the problem is when you start to fall down, how are you going to react?
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you go down? So I don't know. Somehow when I was 17, I already knew that because I had this, turbulence life, experience. So I just knew that, no matter what, I'm being, hit hard and I'm thrown into this, turbulence or the storm, I will not give up. So when I started Versus, I was kind of, at the edge, very, very close to the edge because I was 28, 29. Again, in Japan, when you graduate school, when you are 23, 24, you just, get a job. Right? Then you get married, you have the family, and that's the beauty of the life. Most of people think like that. So think about, when you were 28 and you're telling everybody that I'm going to be the Hollywood director and you actually not doing anything, right? So I knew that my time is running out, right? And before Versus, I did this tiny movie called Heat After Dark, which is my, for very first theatrical, movie. And I'm still proud of it. But when I was doing that movie, it was tough, because I was nobody. I was only 26, 27-year-old, nobody kid from Osaka, went to Tokyo. And, I was lucky enough to have this big star, agree to do this tiny independent movie with me. But the budget was, very low and it was only 10 days of shooting. And in this 10 days of shooting day, typhoon hits twice.
Oh my God, twice?
In 10 days. And I never had any experience. So, nobody really listened to me. It was like, you don't really understand filmmaking, just what just pro do. So that was the attitude, I didn't have this, this strong personality enough to control this, much experienced people. I was the youngest one. I had zero experience, so it was very tough. Right? Then I was thrown into this this crazy fight to fight about this movie rights and all this a lot of many times this producers, they are the ones start the war against you, right? So again, I was 27 and I didn't know anything about the film industry. I was like, oh, really? I mean, you try to rape my movie and you try to kidnap my movie. I mean, no, I'm not going to let you do that. So it was a nasty fight and it lasted for like 2 years,
Oh my God.
which hit me hard because I was nobody, right? But after 2 years, finally this fight is over. So the movie came out. It was a small movie, small release, and it didn't change my life. And I thought that, wow, I'm probably the one of the youngest director who get the chance to make the movie with this big star in Japan. So I thought that, life gonna change. But the fact was, life didn't change. So I was 29. My first movie didn't really work, and I had no money, no future, nothing, right? So, but again, I just determined myself that I'm not going to give up. So I decided to do. And one mistake, because it's easy, so easy to blame somebody else or the situation, right? And people, we are weak to do that, right? In a tough situation, we always point the finger at somebody else or at the situation, like right now, So, but again, I'm lucky that I didn't think like that, and I think like that, and I was like, I wanted to kill this producer. I mean, why? And I was just angry at everybody. But after a while, I started to think like, no, everything is me. I was weak enough, and I wasn't clever enough, and I wasn't experienced enough, and everything comes back to me. So I instead of blaming somebody else, I just blame myself, and I said I have to do this again. So one big mistake I did was on my first movie was I was so dependent on somebody else, these big stars, So I said, okay, so because I just hang on them, because they are the big stars, I listen to them, and life didn't change. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to need the star. This movie, I will be the star. I will be the king, and I do everything on my way. Otherwise, what's the point of doing this? So I wrote this script, and I went to everybody. Seriously, everybody in Japan, everybody laughed at me. This is just nonstop 2 hours crazy zombie kung fu gangster samurai action movie. It's just pure action, and we don't do this. We're not Hollywood. We don't have money. We're not Hong Kong. We don't have the action star. So we don't do this. We just don't do this kind of movie in Japan. This is a video game script. This is a manga script. This is an animation script, not the live action. So the power I had was like, okay, so all right, 100% Japanese film industry ignore me, and nobody gives me a chance. And no, it's not going to stop me. So I ended up calling everybody, seriously, everybody, asking for money. Everybody, all my friends. And I didn't have any, millionaire, billionaire, celebrity friends that time. So, they were all my regular friends. And somehow they started to, give me the money, $3,000 here, $10,000 here, $5,000 here, $20,000 here. Right? And it's a tough money to ask, because it's not a giant studio. It's just a rich people. It's just regular people, while I'm dreaming still. I'm close to 30 and I was still dreaming for my life. My friends were, they had a regular job and they were working hard, and still they invest in me. And that was a heavy money to carry. But then I, asked myself, if you're freaking out, don't do it. If you don't have 100% confident, don't do it, because this is not the rich money throwing the money at you. They walked hours and hours and hours, and they just give you the money, So if I'm not confident, then I don't do it. But I just made up my mind, and I'm going to make this happen. So first money I had was like 50,000, and then I started picking this unknown wannabe actors, not real actors, but doesn't matter, I just picked everybody in my first instinct, and then a lot of people started to gather around me, and ended up, we were like, 50 people. So 50 people, we went to this, off-season ski lodge. And I convinced the owner, we were just 20 people and we were going to in and out in 2 weeks. And he agreed with very little money. Then ended up, they were like, I don't know, 70, 80 people showed up. And after like a month and a half, we were still there. So he got so mad and he kicked us out. So suddenly we lost the location, we lost the accommodation, and we didn't have money. So then I took my entire crew and cast to my hometown, Osaka, because Osaka I had a lot of friends. So like, these 3 actors stay in my friend's house. These guys stay in this house. And I just kept on doing. And $50,000 at the beginning, that money disappeared in like, I don't know, less than a week.
Whoa.
Yeah. And again, the thing I don't know, it was, now I can say that, I made the right decision, but everybody thought I was crazy. It was first 1 week, nothing worked out. Nothing really worked out. Because the script was crazy, big enough, and, we were a bunch of amateurs, That stunt coordinator, Yuji Shimamura, he's one of the biggest stunt coordinator in Japan now, but those days, 20 years ago, he was still, learning. I was learning, he was learning, and then, no professional actor, no professional crew. We didn't have AD, we didn't have sound, we didn't have light, we didn't even have a slate. That's how amateur we were. Only thing we had was a bunch of like street fighters and, me and my crew who was still, not a professional yet, and this Super 16 camera. That's it. So when the sun goes down, we can't shoot anymore. We couldn't shoot anymore. So we went back. Then we cooked out for ourselves. Then from day one, we were like way behind the schedule. So I was like, oh my God, how am I going to survive this? Then the money starts to run out, and I have 50 people to feed. So, when the sun goes down, while my cast and crew are cooking the dinner, I was calling everybody and asking, like, I need money, like tomorrow. Can you do me a favor? Can you buy this, 50 lunch box and deliver to this mountain tomorrow? That's crazy, but I was doing that somehow to every day, right? So, nothing was really working first 1 week, 10 days, and, I knew that I was in deep shit, Then, of course, those days we were still shooting, not the digital, so it takes days to watch the dailies, right? Then, first 1 week passed, and we started watching the dailies, and, none of this was really working, So I was like, I said, you know what? I mean, I have to do this again. So I decided to throw away probably 80% of what we shot.
Oh.
And everybody was like, what? I mean, this is not, no, this camera is not right. So I called, the other guy, he was still assistant, and he was the first assistant for my first movie, Heat After Dark. But, and I called this guy, Takumi, and said, Takumi, do me a favor. I'm doing this movie, and, this team is not working. I need you to come and, take over. And I have no money. And he came, and he ended up, my guy, he and I, this Takumi Fu and I, did all this Azumi and Godzilla, and he even shot, my new movie called The Doorman, So he even did the Hollywood movie.
Wow.
20 years. But that time, he was still nobody. He was just assistant. But I just knew that this guy, I need this guy. So I brought him, and his team, and replaced this, the camera unit, and throw away 80% of the footage we shot. And I was like, no, this is not what I want to do. After all this trouble, asking a lot of money to my dear friends, no, I can't. So I know I fucked up, but I'm going to throw this away, and I'm going to reboot right now. So that's what I did, So because of the loss of this, throwing out like 70, 80% of the first week, I mean, that's a huge, if you only have 50,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So of course the money ran out, and I just called everybody every single day. I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how many. If I can do the same thing now, I don't think I can. But even that, money runs out, and we were kicked out of this, the ski lodge we were staying, and the snow started to fall. We started shooting like end of September, and then it's going to get into late November, and snow started to fall, so we had to shut down anyway. So while they shut down, of course, a lot of people told me that, well, but still we have tons of footage. You can just edit and you can just finish the movie. And I said, no, this is far from finished. So I'm gonna find more money somehow, because we can really shoot for a couple months anyway. So while we were shutting down, I was making that miniature at the last scene and the verses, which is like kind of like Mad Max Thunderdome, Escape from New York looking. And I was making that kind of, the post-apocalyptic city with this cardboards and plastic models and everything, because we had time. And the photo session for the poster, that iconic image, later became the poster where I was doing the Photoshop. So I was a photo shoot for that and look for another money. And when spring comes, we went to Osaka and we kept on shooting. Then in the end, we even came back I can't let my crew and cast stay at my friend's house for like a couple of weeks, right? 3 days maybe, but if it's more than 1 week, that's too much. So in the end, we had nowhere to go, and I had zero money for accommodation. So we came back to Tokyo, and we found a forest, outside of Tokyo. So that's where we shot. We were that stupid. I was like, really? It took us 6 months to find out that shit, there is a forest near Tokyo. Why we were jumping around all over Japan? I mean, wasting a lot of money for the accommodation. But so the final, I don't know, a couple of weeks, we were shooting in Tokyo, and everybody was just telling me, you just keep on asking a lot of people a lot of money, and seems like you never know when to end. I was like, I'm going to end when I'm satisfied. And that's kind of, crazy, but kind of ideal filmmaking, which I'm not allowed to do anymore. It's sarcastic, but when you're a professional director, yes, you have to protect schedule and money, no matter what. Right. So sometimes I feel like, that was very, very lucky that, I had the freedom to do that, because actually my life was dependent on it. I just knew that if this movie doesn't work out, I'm dead. I cannot say, I'm a talented film director to anybody anymore. Again, I cannot ask money to anybody again. This is it. This is the one last chance. So that's why, I just, didn't hit the brake. I just kept on, just speeding up. And so we shot, 4,800 setup, which is crazy.
Whoa.
In Super 16 film with no slate, no sound. So now I had to edit this mountain of film. So I started watching the footage and I was like, what is this half-second shot? What is this close-up shot? Does anybody remember? And nobody remembers that. I was like, what did you, I asked my actor, what did you say? It doesn't match the script. Well, boss, you were just improvising everything on the set. Okay, and nobody even recorded or write down what you say, so nobody remember the dialogue. So I had to figure out the new dialogue to match the mouth. This is like so amateur filmmaking. So I started to cut my film in old school way, but then I realized that this is impossible. It's just impossible to edit this. Only way to finish this is using this Avid system, the computer, which was very rare in Japan back in 1999. Only 3 big editors had it. Only 3. And of course, only 3 big, rich editors had it. Nobody else. So I was like, oh my God, so somehow we have to find the editor. So we went to this, one of the most famous editor in Japan, and Kake-san and his office, and started downloading this, mountain of Super 16 footage. So he came up and he said, like, who are you? What is this? What is this? Get the hell out. I was like, I shot this crazy movie, and this is not only the future of me, this is the future of Japanese cinema. And 4,800 setup, no sound, no slate, no editing seat, nothing. So only way to edit this is, I need your help. And I have no money. But this movie will change my life, and I will pay back. Then he laughed and said, I'm in this industry more than 35 years, and it's still in this industry. People say that, I'll pay you back when I get famous.
People say it all the time.
No, but I've never seen anybody did that. So I looked right into his eyes and said, I will be the first. I was just, somehow it worked. He believed me. So he said, all right, let's take a look. And he was, of course, he was a busy editor, and he was working on a lot of big studio movie, but he gave me 100% of his passion. And he called this lab, which is Imagica, which is the biggest, lab in Japan. And he made a call to Imagica when we finally finished the movie and said, like, hey, this kid has something. So just let us use your screening room just one time for free. And they did it. So we did this one screening at the Imagica, for free. And Kake-san was very nice to invite all his producer friends. And one of the friends became the producer of my next movie, Alive. So he really, helped me. So I had a lot of support from from my friends to this big editor to, everybody. And I don't know, when you were that crazy, and when you were that serious, and when you have that crazy passion, I think you can move people. And film director, it's a tough job, because I always think that film directing is, really, film director is this very strange job that you don't really do anything. It's the crew, DP makes that beautiful, picture, and the actors, they act, and the composers with the music and everything, right? Production designer, everything. And most of the time, producer is the one, finding the money. So I always ask myself that, so what is your job? What is your job? Everybody call you boss, but what is your job? It's not really you doing it, So I always, tell myself that, my job is to, like it says, give direction. So I have to open up my my drawer, from my soul, and then I just throw out lots of fancy toys, and throw at my crew and cast, and hey, grab this. What do you think? To ignite their creative, senses. Because without my crew and cast and the producer, I can't really do anything. Yes, I used to do it, but right now my vision is getting bigger and bigger, and I really need their help. So, so only thing I can do is that, I have to be serious more than anybody, and I have to be passionate more than anybody on the set. And, every single day, every single moment, to just let them excite, make them feel that, it's fun to work with this crazy director. So, that's what I've been doing since when I was, 17, 18. Yeah.
Well, how did you find the confidence to be able to pull that off? These were really difficult circumstances where most people would have quit, and then you make the movie, and then you go to the editor and say, I have no money. I need your help. I'll be the first one. Where did you find the confidence to do that?
It's not really the confidence, like it says, to me, movie making is my life, myself. It's my reason of existence, So I don't think it's possible for me to find another way to live. Especially in a time like this, the world as we know is like changing drastically in a time like this, right? So of course, I was supposed to shoot something in Japan and then something in Hong Kong right now, and everything is pushed. And of course, as everybody else, I started thinking like, I mean, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. But then
Right.
100 times I tell myself like, hey, filmmaking is not an easy job, to and especially in a time like this, I mean, this is tough. So you have to start thinking about, different kind of job, right? Then immediately I'm like, no, I mean, it's impossible for me to do anything else. This is the only thing I love and the only thing I can do. So it's not really the confident. It's like, I have no way out, because this is the only thing I love, So when you think the movie directing, to be the filmmaker is your job. If I think like that, I would have quit many times. But filmmaking, the movie directing is myself, my life. It's everything to me. So I can't really quit. That means suicide. So I can't do that. So that's why. And because every time I make new movie, and I'm sure you know it, but just every single day, it's like, 300 problem rise up, right? Every day on the set, like, I mean, and most of the time it's nothing to do with you, right?
Right.
I'm doing the right thing, and my actors are doing like my crew are doing the same thing. But always, if you have like 50 people, 100 people involved in the movie making, it's impossible to have everybody picture perfect.
Right. Of course.
All this parasite and sharks, liars, and it feels like it's like always the enemy within situation. Right? So every single day, this liar and and so like many problems rise up. But then I keep on telling myself that let's say if I die like 6 months from now, a year from now, this will be my last movie, and I have to try harder. I feel like I want to just put the blame on everybody else, and I just want to justify myself. And it's just one of the 13, 14 movie I've done. And I have the next movie I'll do better. It's easy to say that, but I just can't do it. I don't do it. I just, no matter how hard it is, I have to at least try so that I can be proud of my movie. Because if I die, this will be my last movie, and
Yeah.
it's impossible. It's probably impossible to do 100% satisfied movie. If I have a chance to make a movie like, I don't know, like Inception or the Mad Max Fury Road, maybe I feel like okay, I'm ready to retire, because that's like, okay, I mean, perfect, almost perfect.
Yeah.
So it's never enough. That's why that gives me the passion to do again, because I know that next time I can do better than But when you're in the middle of this chaos, it's every single day. It's just like it's either I'm gonna kill this this asshole, or I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna go insane. And I always feel like no. I mean, I have to do it, because this is the only thing I want to do, and this is the only thing that I'm probably good at. So it's not really the confidence. It's just I just lived my life for 50 years that I don't give easy way out to myself. So yeah, so it's not really you can't really recommend this job. It's hard. But again, when there's always a moment that you're just in sync with perfect with your crew and the cast, and this amazing shot you get, and when you edit and when you put the music and sound effects, and my favorite moment is like when I'm doing the final mix of the movie, because that's when everything starts to come together, right? And normally when you do the final mix, you can just turn up the volume. You can't really do that in the movie theater, right? There's a limit, but
Right.
final mixing studio, I'm the king. So I was like, just pump it up, and and that satisfaction is the best. That's why I can't really get out of this, job.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pumping up the volume, music is very meaningful to you. You're a big music fan, but you also have a very interesting way of editing your films to music. Music plays a huge part in the films, in your films. Could you talk about how music influences your editing process?
Thank you for noticing that. Not many people notice that, and especially not many Hollywood producers care about that. That's always. I was surprised that before I moved to Hollywood, I never thought that that's going to be like big issue to fight with the producers sometimes. Because most of the time they just want this very typical orchestra, over dramatic music, and when I tell my composer, my mixer that I don't need music here, everybody start to feel nervous, like, come on, it's all about this silence, then this the music, and everything it's not just the background music, it's almost the equal part of the filmmaking, I believe. And I don't know, music was very important because I was a huge fan of this prog rock band called Emerson, Lake and Palmer from UK back. There's a 70s band, and first my big music influence was their album called Pictures at an Exhibition, which is an orchestra piece. So my friend, I went to her room and she played, when I was, I don't know, 13 or 14. I was blowing me away. She played a record of Pictures at an Exhibition. That's an orchestra thing. Then it wasn't. It was like rock, super complicated and cool rock. I was like, wow, man. So I went deep into this, prog rock thing. Then I started listening to all kind of rock music. Then, of course, the orchestra and the folk music, and I listened to everything, So the music was always the big part for me. And especially when you're making the movie, I think it's very, I take it very seriously. Mm-hmm. I don't let my composer just do whatever you're doing good at and put it on. No, it's I have a very deep composition with the composer, and I'm not a composer, so I can't really sing or play, but I know exactly what I want to hear when in this particular scene or the particular shot, and so I spend a lot of time and talk with my composers, spend my time, and I just throw them everything, Emerson, Lake and Palmer to U2 to the Police, or the soundtrack from Italian horror movie. I just throw everything at them, and I don't want you to copy any of this, but I want you to just mix it up and come up with something that I haven't heard before.
Yeah.
So it's not only about the music, it's the same with the crew and the cast, but I always like to challenge myself mostly, but to my crew that, I don't want you to do something you've done before. And a lot of people, I realized that a lot of people, try to go to that easy road because it's easy. Because if you've done it before, you know how to do it, and that's what I don't really like. So I think that picking the right person is the most important part of the filmmaking, mm-hmm. From the cast to the crew, everybody, because you have to have somebody who I really, really want somebody comes in with 100%, passion, not doing this job for the paycheck. That right. Kind of attitude, I don't need it. I understand, I respect, but I don't need it.
Right.
I really need somebody to try to do something very special, and I'm very good at picking the right person, I believe. So that's why I'm always lucky and surrounded by a super talented and passionate crew. So the music is, always a bigger part, and that's when my childhood memory influence comes back. Like this, the movie I mentioned called The Breaking Away.
Yeah.
It's a bicycle race, right? It's in the middle of the movie, this kid, Dennis Christopher, he loves everything Italian because Italia is big for the bicycle. So he has an Italian bike, and he tried to speak Italian, and he listened to the Italian music, and he's a crazy kid. And he rides the motorcycle, and there in the middle of the movie, this scene that he finds out that Italian team is coming to race in his hometown. So he got super excited. And, so he shouted at his mom, "Hey, Italian, Cinzano is coming." That's when this Italian, this music comes in. Then he gets on the bike, he goes to the highway and he starts racing, chasing this, truck, Cinzano truck, Italian truck, right? And it's a legendary, just one of the most beautiful scene ever. But when I was watching the movie when I was 11, 10-year-old, 11, I didn't realize, but now I realize that's a huge influence, because the climax of this scene is this Italian music goes up, 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 and this guy keeps on speeding up, and in the end, and truck driver looking at his speedometer, and he's going like 70 miles an hour. So like, this kid is amazing, right? Then, the music goes up, speed goes up, then this cut to the shot that, Dennis Christopher on a bike, smiling, and he's just riding this motorcycle, the bicycle. And I didn't realize until like years later, but then I realized I'm watching like every 3 months. Recently I realized that, why this shot is so beautiful was in that particular shot at the end of that scene, when he chased the truck, the director only keeps the music and he just mute every like surrounding sound, and that gives this, moment, I don't know, kind of like spiritual feeling, this like going higher, higher and higher feeling. And it's just a filmmaking technique, right? But I didn't know when I was a kid, but it surely grabbed me that moment. I was like, that's the filmmaking technique, and that's what you have to do, So, I didn't realize until I became the film director and started doing that thing. But all those movies that I've been watching, ever since I was a kid, it's in my, by my blood, my DNA, So I always try to create this, this moment, silence. Then the music comes in, and everything's just, into one. Because again, I guess that's the director's job, Yes, composer, they're professional. They can compose any kind of music, and the DP and the actor, they're all the professional. But somehow I have to put my stamp. I have to make it all into one, unite into one, and create my world. So music is very, very important, and I've been very lucky because I'm very picky about composing, choosing my composer, and I'm very lucky to find, and I always try to, do something different. So this past my 4 movies, it's very rare for me, but the past 4 movies I've been working with this guy called Aldo Chirac. First movie I did was my Asian movie called Lupin III, and that movie I asked him to do something in the zone of like Ocean's 11, kind of jazzy, style, because that fits the movie. Then we did the movie called The Downrange, and that's the moment, gives me energy, makes me smile, is that, way before we even wrote the script, way before I started making the movie, Downrange, I just came up with this concept with my my creative partner, Joey O'Brien. He came up with this concept, what if this, there's a sniper in the woods, shot at a tire, you think it's a flat tire, it's not. The tire has been shot out. Yeah. And you don't see where he is. And first he's wearing, he's putting the silencer, so you don't even hear. Only place you can hide is behind the van. And when he told me that idea, I was like, Joey, that's the movie we're going to make. But again, making movies is not easy. So we finally made a movie like after 5 years from the day we came up with the idea. Yeah, because I was doing other things, and and it's not that easy. But I was so excited about that idea. So, days later, I was having just lunch with Aldo, my composer. So I told Aldo that, hey, listen to this idea, and I told him the concept of, this sniper in the woods idea. And this gonna be, I don't need a lot of money to do this. This gonna be like, I'm gonna kind of go back to what I did on Versus,
Yep.
very indie style. I don't need the star. I don't need the big money. I just gonna do this, guerrilla style.
One location.
So I give you 100% freedom, as long as you give me something cool. And the first thing Aldo said was like, here's what I'm going to do. After you're done shooting, you give me the rifle. Then I'm going to bring you the drummer. I'm going to let him come in with a stick, and I tell him to hit every single part of the rifle. Then I record all the sound of the bolt and the trigger and then, the gunshot and everything. And I'm just going to compose the music 90% with the gun sound.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, I love that idea. So the key is to find that kind of, your team. I mean, when he's told me that, I just knew that. Wow, you're going to compose all the music with the gun sound only.
That's cool. And
that's what he did. He did. And then, another thing he told me and blew me away was, then years later, we actually made the movie. And I told Aldo that, I still love the concept. So you just compose everything. Then he said, okay, I'm going to record all possible, sound with the rifle. Then I'm going to put crazy effect, expand and everything, and I'm basically going to create. And here's what I'm going to do. Downrange. When you write down downrange, there's a chord, D-A-G-E.
Oh, look at
That's
that.
It. That's it. I'm going to use that. That's the only chord only key I'm going to use.
So cool.
It doesn't make any sense, but I'm like, I love that. You're only going to stay to the key D-A-G-E. Yes.
Wow.
Okay. So he started composing. Then he started composing. Then one day he called me up and he said, like, Ryuhei, I need you to come into my studio with your cast. So me and my cast went to studio and said, like, what do you want? Well, I need your voice. Oh, okay. So he put me in this recording booth and said, like, say D, lower, D, higher, D. Do it again. D, 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 D. Then A. And that's the voice he used for the soundtrack.
Wow.
So every time we cut to the shot of the sniper, that's my voice.
Oh, wow.
The rest of the scene, rest of the music is actor's voice.
Wow.
It doesn't sound like voice anymore, because he do all kinds of his magic. But that was very inspiring, what.
Yeah, because it's such a unique twist to put on a score. And like you said, it's about finding people who will bring unique things to your movies and do things that just haven't been done before.
Mm-hmm. So I really always have this huge respect and appreciation to this, crew, producer or writer or actor who's willing to, just a little bit, not a huge challenge. It's just a little bit to push to the limit and, do something interesting, because it's very hard to become film director or the producer or the writer or the crew or the cast, no matter what, it's very hard to get in. Once you get in and once it becomes a job, people starts to, lose the passion, which they had 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? Because once it becomes your job, it's a paycheck, right?
Right.
But again, to me, it's not really the paycheck. It is very important, but it's not really the paycheck. It's really my life, myself. So, So I've seen a lot of crew cast are like that. They just come in for the paycheck and they do this in a job, 10 hours, then they don't care. And I'm not really want to do something with that kind of people.
Is there a way you can tell when you're casting or when you're selecting crew members if they're in it to win it, if they're really in it for the passion or in it for a paycheck?
Yeah, I'm not psychic, so I can't be 100% precise. But
right.
So far, yes, sometimes you find out after you start shooting, like, oh my God, I never. So again,
I'm sure you develop a sensibility of people when you're talking to them, if they're in it for passion or if they're just looking to get paid.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, I'm not perfect, so I make mistake, but and if it's like crew, yeah, sometimes you can replace, but
Right.
if it's a cast, it's a big deal.
Yeah. You're kind of screwed.
You can't really change the cast, after even one day, you can't throw that out. So
Right. Right.
very important. So but so far, even after I came to Hollywood, I've been very lucky. I mean, I had so much fun with Bradley Cooper, and he was,
That's
he
right.
was he wasn't Bradley Cooper yet
His
when I did
Midnight Meat Train was what, 2009?
2000. We shot that movie 2007.
Oh, 2007. Okay.
Yeah, so of course Bradley Cooper wasn't really Bradley Cooper, but it's no surprise. I mean, he was amazing. I basically fell in love with him. I was fixing the script at the office. Then he just walked by, and I was like, "Who's that guy? I want to meet that guy." Right. So I brought Bradley into my office, and we started talking about, because I was still working in the script, so the script wasn't locked.
Okay.
But so we were just talking about, something else. Who are you? What do you do? What do you love? And we were talking about ourselves and my life. And after 30 minutes, I just knew that this was the guy.
Here's your guy.
Yeah. And of course, Bradley Cooper, he was amazing all the way. Then No One Lives, Luke Evans, and I was in Japan, he was in Canada or somewhere, so we talked on Skype. And again, we didn't really talk about the script, and we talked about a lot of different things, and I just knew it. And Luke Evans was amazing. And same thing I did was the Ruby Rose on my new movie. Exactly like a year ago, I met her in a cafe, and I loved her, already when she walked in, because I'm a Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very precise. you know, like today, right? I was ready like 3 minutes before our time.
Oh, you were ready to go, yeah.
But come on, you are in New York, it's better. But come on, in LA,
Nobody's on time.
Especially the Hollywood people,
Never
on time, never on time.
15 minutes late minimum.
Later, yeah, 30 minutes late, they don't even apologize. And I'm getting used to it because I've been living here for 13 years now. But I mean, I was like, really? I mean, that's, but it won't change me. So, if the meeting is, at 11 a.m., I'll try to be there, especially, if I am about to meet possible my star for my next movie. I was there like 10:30. I was ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was picking the right seat, and I was ready. Then Ruby Rose came, like 10:45. That's like, whoa! You're a Hollywood star, and you were like 15 minutes early. I mean, that's amazing.
I bet you wanted to cast her just based on that.
Yes. Yeah.
So these little things tell you a lot about actors and crew members being on time, being respectful, and things like that.
It's very hard to find that kind of people, especially when you are a rising star, when you're a star. It's very hard sometimes, right?
Right.
But the Ruby was like that, and so I said, hey, we said, hey, nice to meet you, and so she asked me, hey, and so you busy these days? So I said, no, not really, I mean, I was watching your movie. Then she said, like, I was doing it because I know that I was meeting you today, so I was doing the homework.
Yeah.
That's again very. I mean, I thought, I felt very passion from her,
Yeah.
A lot of actors, stars, even though we had a meeting, they don't even know me, right? So like, I can't work with someone like that.
Somebody doesn't do that. Yeah. Yeah.
So if I meet my possible star or my crew, I watch everything.
Of course.
I watch everything. Not only one movie, I watch everything,
Do your homework.
Because it's a part of my life, and then I have to spend my 3 months every day with this person, and 3 months is only the shooting time, but with this whatever the end product, I have to live with that.
Yeah.
So Ruby Rose was amazing. So after 1 hour, we just felt good, and so again, let's do this together. And a couple months later, we were in Romania shooting the movie. So I've been very lucky, and I've been very serious about it. Because if that connection doesn't work, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, speaking of big connections, I heard that when Clive Barker saw the first cut of Midnight Meat Train, it moved him to tears.
Yes, that was very one of the most honored moment in my life.
That's amazing. So, what was your process like in adapting that short story? Because I've read the Books of Blood, love that short story, and the movie definitely takes some liberties, but it's very much in the soul of the original story, and not every Clive Barker adaptation is like that. But what was it? What was the process like in adapting that, and why do you think Clive Barker responded to it so favorably?
Because even before Midnight Meat Train, I did this movie when I was in Japan, movie based on the comic like Alive, Sky High, Azumi, or even Godzilla. It's and to be very honest, it's I don't really want to do that. It's much easier because I can write my own script. It's much easier. Because I don't really want to adopt somebody's baby. And especially when it's like super talented, baby. I don't
Intimidating.
really take care of that, right? So, but I always, since I did this movie called Alive, which was my first professional movie. Versus was the independent movie, and Alive was my first professional movie. And I fell in love with the manga. So, this author, Tsutomu Takahashi, he's like my brother now. We did like 3 movies together, and we will do something else, in the future. So he's like my brother. So I really have to take care of his child. So I'm even more serious than doing my original, because I have a responsibility to adapt and take care of somebody's baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Midnight Meat Train, and it was like almost like I felt like almost fake because it was back in 1987. I quit high school and I went to Sydney. Then my friend, my movie friend, wrote me airmail and said like, "Hey, Ryuhei, this movie called this new book from UK called Midnight Meat Train, and Stephen King says it's the future of the horror." I was like, "What? What is that? What is that?" So I asked my girlfriend, "Can you just buy it on the day it comes out and just send it to me?" So she did that, and I still have this first edition of the Midnight Meat Train Japanese edition.
Wow.
So I read it, and of course, Midnight Meat Train was the first of the Book of the Blood, right? So I read it, and I was blown away. So I still have that, So of course, then I loved it. I'm a huge fan of the Hellraiser, and I read his old book and the movie. Most of his adaptation movie is too bad, but it's bad, right? But the Hellraiser, Candyman, I love. So I was a huge fan. So it was funny that I was just went into Lakeshore Entertainment for just a regular meeting, and I met the producer Gary Lucchese, and we were talking about like this. We were talking about lots of different things, and he was like, "And I really like you. We should do something together. And I think this is perfect for you." And he gave me the script, And I read the title, and I was like, I just gave him back. No. I'm like, why? You're talking about the Clive Barker Midnight Meat Train, right? The Clive Barker, right? No. You stupid Hollywood, stop doing this remake or adaptation and make stupid movies. Don't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want you to do it. That's what I said to Gary Lucchese, and he laughed and said, we developed this, very closely with Clive's people. So just take a look. If you don't like it, we'll find something else. But just come on, just take it back. So I took it to my hotel and I read it, and it had a huge potential. So I went in, day after, and they said, well, this script I think still needs some work, but I really think this has a huge potential, so I want to do it. And within like 3 days, they hired me, which was amazing.
Wow.
So we started working in the script, and of course, it's even harder. I mean, it is hard when you have to start from this, long book like Stephen King's novel. Like if you have like volume 1, 2, 3, how are you going to make it into 2-hour movie? Which is right. But also it's hard if it's like 20 minutes story you turn into movie. That's very hard. So a lot of things, and I don't quite remember any details from the original script, but everything was there. Jeff Bueller did an amazing job, so everything was there. But what I wanted to do was, just bring in my just pure love and respect to the world of the Clive Barker, and that even Bernard Rose, the director of Candyman, he wanted to do the Midnight Meat Train as Candyman too, right?
He wanted to do it instead of Candyman 2?
No, he wanted to do that as Candyman 2.
Oh, so Candyman was going to be like a crossover movie?
I don't know what he was thinking, but
there was going to be like a Clive Barker universe.
Yes. No, but there must be some, he changed something from the Midnight Meat Train so that it turns into the Candyman 2.
Whoa. So,
but I understand, why 20 whatever years ago he thought about that. This kind of similarity, even though it's a total different story, because it's kind of like, the secret world, one is in this, urban legend thing. Midnight Meat Train is not really about urban legend, but, it has this, the world is not exactly as you see it, right? So that's why that kind of element I wanted to, discuss with the writer and the producer and even the Clive, and I wanted to put in that kind of conspiracy thing. Oh, the cop is part of the team, and then not only the train driver, it's a cop and everything. So we spent a lot of time, working with the writer, producer, and I went to Clive's house, many times, and I don't even remember why, but the one time, Clive was so angry because he didn't like the changes we made. because again, that happens all the time. But I was working on something I don't even remember. I was working on some idea, but it wasn't there yet. So I told the producer not to give this to Clive yet, but of course they did.
Oh.
So Clive read it, and he was scary.
What was Clive Barker's house like?
Clive's house is like a dream. It's a Disneyland for me. He will have this, I don't know. It's kind of like a doorbell. It's a pinhead.
Oh, no way.
Metal pinhead.
Oh, wow.
So I went to his house. I was like, oh, man, is there any way to detach this? And I want to steal this. He has this cool metal pinhead on his door. All his artwork. Amazing. So Clive's house is like a dreamland for me.
That's so cool.
But the one particular day, it was only one day. He was very angry with the changes. So I had to explain that Clive, this wasn't supposed to get to you yet because I have some idea. Here's what I'm going to do later. This and this and this, and then in the end, of course, he understood it. So it wasn't easy, but. Nothing is not. I can't even recall easy filmmaking experience. Every filmmaking experience is like challenging. But Midnight Meat Train was, think about, now looking back now, it went very smooth. But still, that was I still remember that if the big fight was, that's one of my few regrets. But in the original script and the original plan. In the end, when the train stops at the cave and then you see this creature, fathers, right? Mm-hmm. Then we had the plan to do much bigger. Seriously, much bigger. The entire cave is the creature.
Right.
Goes up.
Wow.
And grab that Leon's girlfriend, Maya.
Yeah.
By Leslie Bibb, and just tear her apart.
Oh my God.
So Bradley Cooper's character. And the rain of blood pours on Bradley Cooper. And that's how he had to accept his fate.
Wow.
That was the original. I've never spoken about this, I think, but that was the original idea. And we did the, VFX. I had this genius designer, design this. Basically what I wanted to do was, creature version of Transformer.
Okay.
Cave, then cave starts to move around, and this giant Bradley is like this big, and this one shows up. Oh my God. And all this father hail to this king and grab this girlfriend and tear her apart, and the blood rain, and of course, Leon, Bradley Cooper, he has to accept his fate.
Wow.
That
That would have been amazing.
would have been amazing, but one day this big boss producer came to the set, and that was very unfortunate. He loved what I was doing so far, and so he started to and because we were shooting in Burbank in LA, it was close to Hollywood. So that time, he was producing this big $50 million Diane Lane movie in Louisiana or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of going there, he was, he came to see me,
Yeah.
which was, I was honored to do that. This big producer, Oscar-winning producer, came to see me on the set every day. And he was talking about what are we going to do next. That was a very happy time. But the one day he came to the set and he went to the restroom and he looked sideways. One of the creatures was peeing next to him. And the creature was designed and done by Marshall Mango, Oscar-winning, the special makeup artist, right? Legendary guy, but doesn't look good when you look him being
in light, in bathroom lights.
Not on the set, not under the light, right? So he hated it.
Oh God!
So he came to me and said, Ryuhei, what is that? What is that? That looks like the creature from Black Lagoon back in 1950. What is that?
Oh, no.
Come on. Give me a break. I've been doing this show and tell every Friday, and I show you all the concept arts, and you approved all the design, and this is done by Marshall Mango. It doesn't look good when you meet him in the toilet, but it's going to look fine. Aren't you loving what I've been doing so far? I mean, come on, give me a break. But once he hated.
Oh, God.
Because I'm a big Hollywood producer, right? So from that day, he just, lots of producers, they were like, I don't know, like 15 producers on the set. And this producer number 10, producer number 9, producer number 8, everybody comes, he's not happy. Boss is not happy about the creature. So we has a concern about this, the ending. So we have to shoot the plan B. What is the plan B? So you shoot the scene with the creature, then you should shoot the scene with no creature. Well, they're gonna double time everything. I mean, that's gonna we need more time. I mean, you want me to repeat every single shot? I mean, you can't. I mean, that's not even plan B. What is the plan? That's not fair. Everybody approved the concept and the script and storyboard and design, and you can't do that to me. If you say plan B, give me plan B. What is the plan B? And nobody answered the question. So I was under extreme pressure. It was crazy final. And that was every final week was like that, right? Mm-hmm. So of course all the producer started to freaking out that because this director is not listening to the boss. I mean, it's just not fair. Give me the plan B. If you say plan B.
Tell me what to do at least.
And again, like I said, I know I lived as a fighter all the way, so I don't really give a shit.
Right. Always fighting.
Fire me. Okay, that's fine. What? Because it's just unfair. So I wasn't really listening, but so everybody went into this panic mode, and in the end, like I said, you have to have this one-on-one meeting with the big boss. I mean, that's fine, but it's not going to go. He doesn't like the creature. Because without the creature, this movie will collapse. Mm-hmm. So what is this? Suddenly this Vinnie Jones is, why he's doing this? What is this? It's a different movie. Then we have to shut down and then we have to go back to the script and figure this out.
Oh, God.
And it's not the Midnight Meat Train. What are you talking about? No creature. This is not the movie. So I don't mind, meeting Big Boss, but unless we have the new idea, it's not going anywhere. I don't want to end up fighting him. What is this? So I was and I had to deal with that while I was already struggling with the schedule and complicated shoot. But that particular morning, I just I was so depressed, and and because this day when we have to shoot this cave scene ending is in 2 days.
Wow.
So oh my God. So what are we going to do? So I was thinking in the shower and the lightning hit me, and basically basically from the moment that the train stops till the epilogue, that was kind of like improvised by me. It was
Oh,
it
wow.
was it wasn't like that in the script. Yeah. So I came up with the idea. So I went to the set and I told the producer and said, like, can you call the big boss, and then I need to talk to him in the lunchtime. So at the lunchtime, it was just me and big boss, and Tom. And I said, Tom, I mean, I know you don't like the creature, but it's really unfair, because you approved everything, and just because you met in the toilet and you don't like it, you can't really tell me to get rid of the monster, because this is the monster movie. And what are we going to do, if you don't like the monster? Yeah. So, but I understand you don't like it, so you really want to minimize, and you don't like the big creature at the end. I understand, but I also understand, we have to have the creature.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't like plan A, I don't like plan B, because there's no plan B. So only way to solve this is to come up with a plan C, which makes you happy enough and makes me happy enough. So here's what I'm going to do. And I stood up and I basically act all the last scene. And he was finally like, holy shit, all right, you go do that. So he approved that. So I came up with that idea, that, open up the Maya and give the heart and everything, all that,
Yeah. That was a great moment.
It was, but then I really wanted to do that, the big creature. So I even tried. I didn't give up, and I tried, to do the CG mock-up of
Oh,
how
okay.
the scene, and I show it to him, and he still didn't like
Still.
it. The VFX guy was this guy, James McQuaid. He was an amazing guy, and he did all those, Underworld and great movies.
Right.
So yeah, he and I, we still try to convince. So we did this mock-up of this big CG and everything, but he still didn't. So that's what I lost. I mean, like,
Oh, man. Well, a common thread in a lot of your stories is the fact that you don't give up. And I've heard you mention on Mix podcast that you said that you had like a samurai spirit. Is that something that you come back to as a philosophy?
It is. So so probably my close friends or my family members, or everybody think that I'm a bit too hardcore, because to me, I have my own code of samurai, code of honor, and if somebody steps into that zone, I don't really care what kind of damage I get in the end. I get into fight. I'm not talking about the violent fight, because it's just against my philosophy. I can't really, and this, especially in this entertainment industry, there's so many liars and parasite and sharks, and
Yeah.
it's and I know, I mean, it's never a perfect world. So yes, you have to have, you have to give this up to gain something, and I'm doing that, but sometimes they just push me too far.
Mm-hmm.
I call it samurai spirit, but maybe the other way to say this is the exterminator spirit.
Exterminator.
I love the movie. If you push somebody too far, yes, he's gonna fire. Like that. Exterminator is another very important, movie created me. I love that every single moment of that movie. And that was, again, a small indie movie, right?
Right.
And after 35 years, 40 years, still everybody loves that movie, and I love that movie. And I love that, the movie that when he kidnaps this, the mafia boss,
Mm-hmm.
and asks where's the safe combination? Nothing else. If you lie, I'll be back. Lie,
And that's
he
you.
lies about the Doberman dog, right? So he comes back, and he just throw him into this meat grinder. I watched the movie when I was like 10. I'm like, this is how I live.
Nice.
Oh,
so that's where you got the idea for the meat grinder in No One Lives.
No, that was in the script.
Oh, okay. What was it like working with Daniel Pearl, by the way?
That was like pure fun.
Yeah.
No One Lives was, again, also like especially after, I mean, Midnight Meat Train, everything was pretty smooth until this last fight with my big boss.
Right.
Because it was a Lakeshore movie, it was a Lionsgate movie. We had a decent budget, right? No One Lives was in much smaller budget, and we had to shoot it. And of course, why I don't know, but 90% of the movie is nighttime, and of course we had to shoot that in the summertime. So like, why? Why are we shooting this in summer? So it was tough, but it was chaotic shooting. I mean, it's just like I can write a book about it, how chaotic
Really
was. But and again, I don't want to say bad thing about anybody, but I can say that only thing kept me happy and going was working with like this two genius, Daniel Pearl and Luke Evans.
Right. And did you pick Daniel Pearl because of his work on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you wanted that Southern fried feel? Of
course. And I didn't pick. I mean, I was surprised that Daniel agreed to do the movie, because he's like So I met Daniel and I said like you basically my teacher. I didn't learn that much from film school, but I learned everything from your movie, your music video. I mean,
music video.
He shot everything. Michael Jackson, Police, U2, Bruce Springsteen, everything. It's done. So like I learned everything from your music video. So so we were instantly connected, and it was pure joy.
That's great.
And it was. Yeah, and the first thing we decided was because we had limited budget, and I didn't want to copy myself. I want to go completely different from what I did on Midnight Meat Train, which was, I did great with this amazing, another genius, Jonathan Seller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's now shooting, Transformer, Deadpool, John Wick, everything, So Jonathan Seller was only like 28 or something that time, but Jonathan and I did, we had so much fun doing Midnight Meat Train. Yeah.
Cool.
So I didn't want to do, of course, it's a legendary Daniel Pearl. I don't want him to do something that I did with Jonathan Seller. So we wanted to do something different. Then we came up with the idea, why don't we shoot this Super 16? We shot that movie 2011, so nobody was shooting film anymore. So I said, like, Super 16, but I still want to do this, anamorphic lens. How do you put that anamorphic onto Super 16? And the only other movie we knew did that was Black Swan.
Okay.
Right. So I think Daniel called the DP of Black Swan, asking him, and he didn't tell.
Of course not. Why would you share your secrets?
He won't tell because you are Daniel Pearl, Daniel-san. So you're going to figure out, and he did figure out. So that was fun, doing this Super 16 animal. And what I found out when I was shooting that chaotic shoot of No One Lives was that, we used to shoot a movie like that, right?
Yeah.
And when you shoot Super 16, the monitor is like this big, and it looks like VHS, right? So you don't really care. So after a while, I just started like, I'm gonna watch the monitor. I'm gonna watch the actor. So Daniel, you're gonna take care of the picture. I'm gonna focus on the acting. So this is how we make movies.
Yeah, it's what Quentin Tarantino does. He never looks at a monitor when he's directing actors.
These days, it's a hard drive and, this plasma display. And, then what happens is, of course, every actor wants to see that. Can I see the playback? Can I see the playback?
Oh, yeah. You'll never get the film made that way.
Slow us down. So that was one thing that, we were very, happy. But working with Daniel was again, dreams come true moment.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. And I just recently I had sushi with him. And
oh, cool.
We will do something again.
That's great.
But
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So I've been very lucky with, yes, every crew and cast is very important, but especially DP is very important.
Yeah.
Their job is much harder than the director, because they have to realize and materialize and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are more practical job, and then they have to somehow find a practical way to realize my crazy vision. So I have huge respect to my DPs, but I've been very lucky. Like this guy, I had in Japan called Takumi.
Mm-hmm.
Then my first guy in Hollywood is this Jonathan Sella, the genius guy, and then the Daniel Paul. Then I've been working with this 3 movies with this guy, Matthias Schubert, and he got on board in the middle of this Downrange. Downrange was another chaotic situation, so we had to shut down. Then, I had to replace the DP, and, he just showed up, and we spoke 30 minutes, and I just knew that Matthias is the guy. And he did an amazing job, so we did this Nightmare Cinema together, we did the Doorman together, and we will, do something together. So I'm always, and Matthias is the guy that, again, like the others, he doesn't care about the paycheck or the time card or whatever. He just have this pure love and passion.
Yeah, and that's what you want.
Something very special. So I've been very lucky. My DP, my writer, my composer, my lead actor. I've been very lucky.
That's great.
Sometimes I'm very unlucky with the other things, but
well, as long as you get most of it right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, Ryuhei, I can't thank you enough. This is a real pleasure.
Thank you.
So what is next for you?
I don't know. I mean, I have tons of projects going on. So some of them are horror, but not like what I've done before. And because yes, I love horror movies and making horror movies, but I still think that my very strong thing is action.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to do that, much in Hollywood yet.
Well, I like when you combine horror and action.
Yes, that's what I did on Midnight Meat Train and No One Lives, right?
Yeah.
So and again, Midnight Meat Train, my stunt coordinator was David Leitch. He's now a huge director.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so no, he was amazing. So so even though we were making horror movies, when it comes to the final fight between Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper, we were basically making the action movie.
Yeah.
So yes, but I really looking to a project to showcase my action ability. So which I'm working on right now. So yeah.
Great.
And after living, 13 years in LA, I'm so far I'm happy here. Hollywood is much slower than movie making in Japan. In Japan, once you agree, you don't spend time on months on the contract or anything. You just get into pre-production, and 2 months later you're on the set. That's the speed.
That's great.
That is the only frustration I have. Before I came to Hollywood, when I was in Japan, I made 9 movies in 3 years.
Oh my God! Because you were filming in Japan.
Yeah.
So is that just the culture of filmmaking in Japan? Is people just want to go, and they don't fuck around with meetings and development and all that?
No. So I mean, it's good and bad, because we don't have a union.
Mm-hmm.
So my record, which I'm not planning to break, is 46 hours nonstop shooting. 46 hours, no lunch break, no dinner, nothing.
Wow. You can only do that in Japan.
I had to do this, 1 hour, almost a movie, kind of long music video, but the movie, called Longinus. And this rock star friend of mine asked me to do it, and I only had 2 days off in the middle of the pre-production of the Godzilla movie, which was already chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do this 1 hour movie in 2 days. So only way to do that is we just shoot nonstop. So we were eating rice bowls and sandwich while we setting up the camera and the lighting.
That is a true filmmaking samurai spirit.
Yeah. So no, it's so. In this town, if you're lucky, you make 1 movie in 3 years, which is very frustrating. But I'm speeding up now, so I'm Once this pandemic is over, I'm gonna right into this, hopefully right into pre-production of my next movie, and I also have some project going on in Japan and Asia. So life is too short. I have to keep on, fighting until I'm satisfied 100% with my work. Then that's when I retire.
Great. Well, I can't wait to see what you put out next. Thank you again. This was a real pleasure. Any parting advice for aspiring directors out there?
you just have to keep on shooting, you know. I mean, don't give any reason, you know, why you are not doing it, you know. Yeah, well, you know, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I was living in this, you know, in Japan, you know, this, everything is so small, right? So I was living in this one room apartment in Osaka, one room, one tiny room in Japan. And I always had this high-end video camera, and you know, I always had, you know, my best friend, who ultimately became a composer of verses.
Oh.
Because, like I said, and I was like 25, and when you're 25, you know, people get a job, very busy. But this guy, you know, he wasn't really doing anything, and I wasn't really doing anything, so he was always hanging out in my house, my apartment, tiny room. But you know, so I can't remember, you know, we shot like, I don't know, probably 20, 30 short movies, just him and me. Just him and sometimes one more guy. That's it. Everything is in this tiny apartment. And you know, you'd be surprised at how many, if you really focus, you know, how many crazy ideas you can come up with. So, you know, one of my masterpiece, I believe, is that this one called Otaku Hunter El Paso. Because you know, we love movies, right? And we love video games. So of course, your room is like 100% otaku, right? So one day I talked to my composer, later to be composer friend, say like, let's do this, you know. So you are the otaku, right? You listening to this pop idol, you watching, you know, playing this, you know, Japanese porn video, and you playing the video game. It's 100% otaku. Then something comes out. This Mexican kind of, you know, Mexican costume guy, because I had this, you know, poncho I bought in Las Vegas or something. So, you know, this Mexican looking guy with the bat comes out of the TV and beat the shit out of you and throw you into the TV, turn off the remote, and you are trapped inside this, you know, TV. And that's way before Ring came out. And I shot that in like 2 hours.
Oh, that's so cool.
Then the next day I came up with another idea. This scary guy comes out of the toilet or whatever. So every day I was coming up with this crazy idea. And, you know, I was shooting him, and then I act and he shoots me. And if there's a two shot, we put the camera somewhere else. And, you know, there's a lot of things, you know, I did, you know, in this tiny apartment. So, you know, compared to that time, you know, right now, if you have an iPhone, you can shoot everything. You have the iMovie, you know, you have the GarageBand, and you can do everything, you know. So it's like a dream time for the filmmaker. So, you know, you just have to come up with something and, you know, keep on shooting anything. So that's my only advice, you know.
Wise words. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
This was great. All right, so much to learn from that conversation. And here, as always, are some key takeaways from this conversation with Ryuhei Kitamura. Number 1, always blame yourself. At his lowest point, when nothing was working out and Ryuhei could have blamed producers, actors, and the entire Hollywood system, he instead blamed himself. This was actually an act of self-empowerment, which enabled him to pull himself up by his bootstraps and make things happen, because he knew nobody was coming to save him. When things go wrong, it's human nature to find things and people to blame it on, but instead, Ryuhei's story is a reminder to take full responsibility of your entire director path. Hollywood is a fickle beast. It's loaded with liars, sharks, and parasites, as Ryuhei said. When the chips are down, take the blows, learn the lessons, get back up, and take ownership of all of it. The system owes you nothing. You have to fight for every single inch that you get. Number 2, be willing to throw it all away. Now, this is an extremely hard lesson, but on Versus, after spending tens of thousands of dollars that he raised from friends and family, Ryuhei looked at what he had shot and realized it was not good enough. This led him to scrap 80% of the footage that he spent months on grueling sets filming. This is heartbreaking, but an inevitable part of the journey. Yes, your material will never be perfect, but regardless of how hard you work on something or how much money you spent on it, if the quality isn't there, it's time to scrap it and start over. You'll have to live with each and every frame of your movies for your entire life, so you really can't afford to put out anything that you're not happy with. Number 3, Make outrageous demands, and you'll be surprised how often you get what you want. After talking to enough directors, I realized that movies are made up of a bunch of mini miracles, and you have to believe they're possible in order for them to happen. After shooting Versus on a shoestring budget, Ryuhei boldly approached one of the top editors in Japan and asked him to edit his movie for free. The guy laughed at him at first, but Ryuhei's conviction persuaded him to actually do it, and he edited the movie. This substantially boosted the quality of Versus, and it put Ryuhei on the map, and he was eventually able to pay the guy back. To make a movie is to literally do the impossible with limited time and on a limited budget. Often the only thing that will get your movie made properly is your own boldness and determination to make the impossible possible. This means you have to be bold, and you have to make some preposterously outrageous demands, and when you do, you may be surprised how often people say yes. Despite the fact that Hollywood can be rough, don't forget there are angels as well as demons. You'd be surprised at how often people in the industry want to help filmmakers out because they know how difficult the job is. This is both a matter of getting out of your comfort zone and also believing in the power of possibility. So if you identify an opportunity like this, ask for it. The worst they can do is say no. Anyway, guys, thank you as always for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with your friends and family on social media. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram at I'm Nick Taylor. That's I am Nick Taylor. Twitter on the same handle. And if you dug this episode, let me know what you liked the most about it. Thanks a lot, guys.